Hello everyone, welcome to another lesson with Rivera Fine Art Studios. Today I'm going to work on this drawing of the skull, and I've gone ahead and blocked in all of my shapes. So I have a linear placement of everything from contour lines to shadow shapes, and I've used a combination of some different measuring techniques. If you're interested in learning more about my measuring techniques, you can watch some of my previous videos. I did a video on the sight size technique as well as comparative measuring. For this drawing, I used mostly comparative measuring as I'm doing this at a slightly different scale than I see it. I'm doing it a little bit larger. And I'm going to continue to work on this, just work on the shading using a variety of different pencils. Now I've set this up with a pretty dramatic lighting, so I have a nice full range of dark to light values. Unfortunately, I did not have access to a real skull, so I'm using a plaster cast. But it is pretty similar. The proportions are pretty accurate to what a real skull would look like. I just don't have the really deep hollow cavities of the eye sockets and such. But without any further ado, I will start working on this, and I will do this at a time-lapse video, so you'll be able to see it progress rather quickly. I will put notes up to describe some of the techniques that I'm working on, and that is pretty much it. So without any further ado, I'm going to get started, and please watch and enjoy. Okay, so I am more or less finished with this drawing. I may just go back and touch up some of these areas in the upper part of the cranium, but for the most part, it is complete. And I worked on this over the course of 2 days, about 3 to 4, actually 4 hours a day. So the drawing roughly took 8 hours. And most of that was the shading. So a lot of layering, a lot of blending. I just want to talk for a few minutes about the technique I use. So if you noticed, I was using this tool. This is just a brush, a stiff bristled brush, to smooth out some of the values that I had laid down with a pencil. Now, this sometimes is really a nice alternative to using a tortillon. It's actually a little bit softer, so I feel like sometimes I get even more even gradations of value tone using the brush. I also used a bunch of different pencils. So I used, for the most part, my 2H. For almost all of the values in the light area, and the light areas of this drawing, I used the 2H pencil. And then I used a 2B for some of these darker shadows in various places. But that helped me to really keep a lot of control over my lights and my darks. So I knew if I was going into my lights, I was going to only use my 2H, nothing darker. And then in my shadows, I used, this is the only time where I used my B pencil and my 2B pencil. Now, one thing that did happen, because I worked on this over the course of 2 days, I noticed that this shadow is a little bit dark right now for what it is at the moment. The first day I worked on this, it was quite a bit darker. It was cloudy. So I will have to probably go back and actually look at that again and make some adjustments there. But overall, you really want to keep a good eye on all of your values and how values relate to one another. So one thing that was really important was after I had set this up, I knew that that was my darkest dark. Nothing else in this drawing was going to be as dark as that. And then even shadows like this, for example, in the nose was dark, but not as dark as that. I also just want to talk for a minute about the teeth. And let me zoom in. This is something that I talk about a lot when you're looking at round forms, balls, cylinders, anything that is round, you get this type of thing happening. So with the teeth, there's a very specific value structure. I have core shadow, which is this dark band here. And then on the left side, I have my direct light. And then on the right side, I have just this, this other value tone, which is my reflected light. Now, it's very important to not let the reflected light get as light as the direct light. And that's something that it's obvious when you're working on a very large form like a big cylinder, but even in something as intricate as teeth, that value pattern happens within every single tooth. So again, that's just something to really keep track of when you are working on shading. Okay, I want to wrap this up. I don't want to spend any more time talking. Hope you enjoyed the video, and look for a future video where I will talk about anatomy, laying muscles over the skeleton. Okay, hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Bye.